On the eve of my wedding, Brandon Gu secretly altered the marriage certificate between us, replacing the groom's name with that of his uncle, Nathan Gu. My friend was horrified. "You're insane. What if she actually marries your uncle?" Brandon only chuckled, completely unfazed. "I lost a bet with Lila. I said I'd do anything she asked. It's just a marriage certificate. Once she sees the mistake, she'll freak out and rush to get it fixed. And even if she really marries my uncle, it's fine. He's disabled. In the end, Lila Lynn will still be mine." His tone was careless, even flippant. Laughter erupted around him. I had been standing at the door long enough to hear every word. My heart grew colder and colder. Finally, I turned around and poured the hangover soup I brought for him down the sink. As I walked downstairs with the empty bowl, the porcelain clicked crisply against the marble railing. The butler looked at me, worried. "Miss Lynn, should I prepare another bowl?" "No." I handed him the bowl. "Brandon doesn't need it." Back in my room, I locked the door. Moonlight spilled across the floor. Tomorrow was supposed to be the most important day of my life, but Brandon's voice still echoed in my ears. The word disabled had cut not only into Nathan Gu, but also into me, someone who had once cared for and respected that man deeply. I remembered seeing Nathan 3 years ago at the Gu family's annual banquet. He sat in a wheelchair, perfectly dressed, distant in expression, while everyone surrounded Brandon with praise. Only Nathan gave me a gentle nod. "Miss Lynn, your presentation was excellent." I had just helped Brandon secure a major project back then. Everyone credited his great judgment, but only Nathan actually saw me. My phone buzzed. A message from Brandon. "Lila, tomorrow you'll finally be mine." I stared at the screen, my fingers turning cold. "No, Brandon, you're wrong." I opened my laptop and pulled up the wedding procedure. Tomorrow, the city's elite would all be watching. The Gu family valued reputation. They would never cancel the ceremony in public. If the groom could be changed, then the bride's attitude could be changed too. The next morning, the wedding day arrived. I stood before the mirror in my wedding gown while the stylist made the final adjustments to my veil. The door swung open, and Brandon stepped in wearing a white suit, looking pleased with himself. "Lila, there's a small mistake on the marriage certificate." I saw it. I cut him off, voice calm. "Nathan's name looks very neat." He froze, then forced a laugh. "So you noticed? It was just a joke. I'll fix it right away." "No need." I turned to face him fully. "I like it as it is." His smile stiffened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," I smoothed the lace on my gloves, "I've decided to let the mistake stand." His expression twisted. "Lila Lynn, do you understand that Nathan is handicapped? He can't even stand." "At least." I met his eyes steadily. "He would never tamper with a marriage certificate or treat marriage as a bet." Brandon grabbed my wrist. "Stop messing around. All the guests are here. You can't joke like this." "Then go explain to them." I pulled my hand back. "That it was your joke in the first place." The wedding march began outside. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I inhaled deeply, picked up my bouquet, and walked out of the dressing room with steady steps. The woman in the mirror had been soft-hearted for too long. That softness was gone now. As I stepped onto the aisle, whispers rippled through the hall. Guests quickly noticed the groom wasn't Brandon, but Nathan Gu, seated calmly in his wheelchair on the stage. Nathan wore a black suit, posture straight and dignified. Even seated, he radiated a quiet authority. Our eyes met. He wasn't surprised, only curious, slightly amused. The officiant cleared his throat nervously. "Miss Lila Lynn, do you take Mr. Nathan Gu as your husband?" Silence fell over the hall. "I do," I said, clear and firm. A flicker of emotion crossed Nathan's eyes. He extended his hand. I placed mine in his without hesitation. His hand was warm and steady. "I do," he replied, voice low and rich. Applause didn't follow, only stunned silence. After the ceremony, Nathan lowered his voice and said gently, "You shouldn't have done this so impulsively." I wasn't impulsive. I leaned close to his ear. I meant every word. That was the beginning. During the evening banquet, Brandon intercepted us. "Uncle Nathan, this is a misunderstanding. The misunderstanding was yours." Nathan cut him off coolly. "And now she's your aunt." Brandon's face turned chalk white. As I pushed Nathan away from the banquet hall, I stopped in the corridor. "Nathan, we should talk." He looked up at me, agreed. But first, a faint smile touched his lips. "Thank you for choosing me." The next morning, sunlight spilled into Nathan's villa. I stood before the massive floor-to-ceiling window, taking in the quiet garden while the sound of wheels rolled softly across the hardwood floor. "How did you sleep?" Nathan asked, voice still husky from waking. I turned. He was already in a tailored charcoal suit, his shoulders broad, waist lean. If not for the wheelchair, he would have been even more imposing than Brandon. "Good," I said, handing him a cup of coffee. "Your guest room is comfortable." We didn't mention that we were sleeping separately. This marriage started with chaos, I said. But we're adults. We can keep things civil. "What's the plan today?" I asked. "I'm going to the office," he replied, taking a sip. "If you'd like, you can join me. As a new member of the Gu family, you should understand our business." I raised a brow. The invitation was sudden, almost strategic. "Will Brandon be there?" "Of course," Nathan said. Something like amusement flickered in his eyes. "He's vice president of projects. Then I definitely should go." I smiled. After all, I'm his aunt now. Gu Group headquarters. Nathan's office occupied the entire top floor. Minimalistic and cold, just like him. His assistant came in with documents, glanced at me nervously. "President Gu, shall we arrange a workspace for Mrs. Lin?" "In the office next to mine," Nathan said without looking up. "And notify all departments, emergency meeting at 10. When the assistant left, I stood at the window overlooking the city. "You don't have to treat me specially. This isn't special treatment." He turned his wheelchair toward me. "I reviewed your resume. MIT MBA. 2 years on Wall Street. Gu Group needs someone like you." I arched a brow. "You trust me that easily? Aren't you worried I'm Brandon's spy?" Nathan gave a rare smile. "If you were, you would have tried to sneak into my bedroom last night. Instead, you behaved." Heat crept up my neck. I hadn't expected him to be so blunt. The meeting room was tense when the executives gathered. Brandon's face darkened the moment he saw me sitting beside Nathan. "Uncle, this is a high-level meeting. Why is she here?" "Lila is my special assistant starting today," Nathan said flatly. "She'll also lead the new strategic development division." "Any objections?" Brandon clenched his fists. "No." One by one, departments presented updates. During Brandon's presentation of the renewable energy project, I tapped the table lightly. "Sorry to interrupt." I flipped through the project file. "There's a cost estimation error." All eyes turned to me. Brandon scoffed. "You've been here less than an hour and you dare question a plan my team spent 3 months on?" "Precisely because I'm new. I can spot what you overlooked." I stood, walking to the projector screen. "You estimated costs based on prices from 3 months ago. Recently, lithium prices have risen 37%. With your procurement scale, actual cost will exceed the budget by 24 million. Silence. "And the supplier you chose was exposed for child labor last month," I added. "Continuing to work with them will cause a public relations disaster." Brandon's expression drained of color. I'll verify that." "No need," Nathan said coldly. "The project is suspended." Meeting adjourned. Everyone filed out. Brandon glared at me like he wanted to tear me apart. Nathan looked at me thoughtfully. "How did you know about the supplier?" "I noticed it before the wedding," I admitted. "I planned to warn Brandon after we married. Now there's no need." "You're more interesting than I expected, Lila. And you," I replied, "are less like a disabled man than the rumors say." It was a bold statement, but he laughed. Truly laughed. "Most people see the wheelchair and assume I'm weak," he said, rolling closer. "That's their mistake." He leaned in, too close. His scent, his eyes, his heat, everything pulled me in. "Why help me?" he murmured. "I'm not helping you." I met his gaze head on. "I'm helping myself." Brandon assumed I needed his protection. "I'm proving him wrong." Nathan nodded. "Good. Then let's begin." The following weeks passed in relentless rhythm. Nathan and I worked side by side as if we had been a team for years. The Strategic Development Division was established within days, and I recruited several capable analysts, people who valued logic over politics, numbers over rumors. Our first month, we shut down 3 loss-making projects and salvaged 2 neglected innovations that turned out to have huge potential. The board began paying attention. Nathan's father complimented him for the first time in months. Brandon, however, was practically unraveling. At every board meeting, he tried to challenge my decisions, only to be shut down by a wall of data he couldn't refute. The harder he fought, the worse he looked. One night, I was still buried in documents when Nathan slid into the office. It's already 11, he said. This acquisition review is due tomorrow. I still need an hour. He didn't argue. Instead, he placed a warm food container on my desk. Eat. Inside were freshly made wontons, steam curling out gently. I blinked, surprised. Did you make these? The housekeeper left early, he said casually, but there was a trace of anticipation in his eyes. I tasted one. Soft, savory, comforting. It's delicious. For a moment, something softened in Nathan's gaze, like tension unwinding. We shared that quiet moment, illuminated only by city lights reflecting on the glass walls. He looked almost unreal in the glow, distant and alluring, like the calm inside a storm. Then he broke the silence. Brendan went to my father today. I put down my spoon. And? He asked for your removal. I sighed. I'm not surprised. He was rejected. Nathan continued. Your projects raised the quarterly profit margin by 15%. A small swell of pride rose in my chest, but before I could speak, Nathan added, but be careful. He won't give up. He leaned closer, brushing a loose strand of hair behind my ear. The touch was gentle, deliberate. You're not fighting alone, Lila. My breath caught. He left the room, but the faint cedar scent he carried lingered long after. The next morning, in the company parking lot, Brendan blocked my car. He looked exhausted, eyes rimmed deep in black, nothing like the shining star of the Gu family he used to be. Lila, he murmured my old nickname, voice hoarse. We need to talk. I held my keys firmly. Vice President Gu. You can call me MS. Lynn. Or Aunt Lila. That struck him like a whip. His face drained. I know I messed up, he said, voice cracking. I shouldn't have joked about the marriage certificate, but his gaze dropped to the ground. But you're really going through with this? Marrying a man you barely know? What I understand about Nathan is none of your business. I tried to get into the car, but he slammed his hand on the door, standing too close. His familiar cologne, once comforting, now felt suffocating. He can't give you happiness, Brandon whispered harshly. He can't even stand up. How will he protect you? I laughed coldly. At least he doesn't gamble with my life. Now move. He didn't. So I pushed past him and drove off without another glance. At the next Gu family dinner, tension simmered beneath every polite exchange. Mr. Gu Sr. sat at the head, with Nathan and me to his right. Brandon and his parents sat opposite us. Brandon's eyes burned holes into me with every bite I took. Lila has been doing exceptionally well, Mr. Gu Sr. praised. That energy project would have cost us billions if not for her. Uncle Nathan is lucky to marry such a capable wife, Brandon said with a faint sneer. Almost makes you wonder what her real motives are. Silence crashed over the table. Nathan calmly set down his chopsticks. Lila's value stands on its own. Unlike you, whose quarterly numbers are embarrassing. Brandon's jaw clenched. His mother glared. Mr. Gu Sr. nearly slammed his chopsticks. After dinner, I stepped onto the terrace to get some air. Brandon followed. What do I have to do for you to forgive me? He demanded. I know you married him to hurt me. Fine. You've made your point. Can't we go back? I turned slowly. Brandon, you think too highly of yourself. My choices are for me, not for you. He grabbed my wrist, desperation flooding his face. We were together for 3 years. You can't just fall for someone else in weeks. Let her go. Nathan's voice cut through the night like ice. He wheeled toward us, eyes sharp and cold. Brandon released me instantly. Uncle Nathan, this is between us. She is my wife. Nathan said. If you harass her again, I will show the board your gambling losses in Macau. Brandon's entire body went stiff. You, how do you know? I know more than you think. He turned toward me, tone softening. It's cold. Let's go inside. He took my hand naturally, and I pushed his chair without looking back. But Brandon wasn't done. Not even close. Rumors began spreading through the company. Brandon whispered that I'd married Nathan out of revenge. That our marriage was transactional. That I was after the Gu family fortune. He even found my parents. Lila, sweetie, my mother urged over the phone. Brandon says he regrets everything. A couple fights. That's all. Why drag it out? And marrying his uncle, how does that look? My chest tightened painfully. Mom, this wasn't a fight. It was disrespect. Brandon treated my feelings like a toy. But, no. I cut in sharply. I've made my choice. When I hung up, Nathan was leaning against the study doorway. I can speak to your parents if you want. I can handle it. I said. He hesitated, rolling closer. If you ever feel overwhelmed, we can take time apart. I stared at him. You want me to leave? No, he answered too quickly, surprised at himself. I mean, I don't want you to feel pressured. I crouched so we were eye level. Nathan Gu, everything I do is by my own will. Marrying you, staying with you, all of it. His eyes darkened with something unspoken. His hand brushed my cheek. Good. Brendan's last attempt came during a business gala. Drunk and furious, he cornered me in front of dozens of guests. Lila, come back to me. What can Nathan give you? A title? A powerless husband who can't even, he gives her respect. Nathan's voice sliced clean through the noise. He wheeled beside me, unflinching under the bright lights. She needs a partner who values her, trusts her, and sees her as an equal, he said. And that was never you. He turned to me, eyes warm. Let's go. But before we could leave, Nathan placed both hands on the armrests of his wheelchair. And slowly, inch by inch, he stood up. Gasps exploded around us. He steadied himself with one hand on my arm, but he was standing. Brendan stumbled backward in shock. That's impossible, Nathan stared him down. I'm not incapable, he said quietly. I simply chose not to stand. But now, I want everyone to know I have every right to stand beside my wife. He took my arm and walked out of the hall. Each step slow but firm, heavy with meaning. That night, he told me the truth behind his injury. How it happened when he protected his family. Why he hid his recovery, because in a family filled with ambition, power was safest when underestimated. But now, he murmured, you're my most important secret, my only true ally. And for the first time, I kissed him. Nathan's recovery progressed faster than expected. Within weeks, he could walk short distances without support. Only I and his medical team knew. To the outside world, he still appeared dependent on the wheelchair. And during those weeks, our bond deepened in quiet, unspoken ways, shared late nights, exchanged glances across glass-walled offices, soft conversations over midnight tea. But peace never lasts long in the Gu family. One morning, while preparing a major presentation, a sudden wave of dizziness washed over me. I grabbed the desk to steady myself. Nathan walked in, instantly noticing. You're pale, he said, frowning. Cancel today's meeting, I'll handle it. I'm fine. I insisted. It's just stress. But a second wave of nausea hit, stronger than before. Nathan didn't argue further. Hospital. Now. The scent of disinfectant stunned my senses. After several tests, I waited in the hall while Nathan went to fill out forms. Ms. Lynn, a nurse called. The doctor will see you now. Inside the consultation room, the doctor held my report with a complicated expression. Ms. Lynn, congratulations. You're pregnant. Around 8 weeks. My mind blanked. Pregnant? Inside me, another life? But, the doctor added, your progesterone level is low. You must rest immediately. There is a risk of miscarriage. The door suddenly swung open. Nathan stood there, breath caught in his throat, having clearly heard the last sentence. His gaze dropped to my still flat abdomen, slowly, carefully, like it was something fragile and sacred. The drive home was silent. When we parked, he finally spoke. What do you plan to do? I turned to him. You don't want the baby? He looked startled, then shook his head quickly. I want your decision. Only yours. Whatever it is. I'll support you. Behind the steadiness in his voice, there was something else, fear. Not of the child, but of losing me. I want to keep the baby, I said. A breath escaped him, almost a laugh, almost a sob, but then worry shadowed his features. Your health, I'll take care of myself, I reassured. And him. His hand trembled slightly as he placed it gently over my stomach. For a man who ruled boardrooms with ice and logic, the faint shine in his eyes was something I'd never forget. News spreads quickly in powerful families. Mr. Gu Sr. arrived the very next morning, carrying more supplements than any pregnant woman could possibly consume. The Gu family's first grandchild. He beamed. Lila, stay home and rest. Nathan can take care of work. Work helps me relax. I smiled politely, and the doctor said moderate activity is good. Mr. Gu Sr. opened his mouth to argue, but Nathan shot him a look, rare, borderline rebellious, which left the old man speechless. But not everyone shared the joy. Brendan confronted me outside the office one day, his eyes fixated on my abdomen. You're really carrying his child? That has nothing to do with you. I said calmly. He grabbed my arm. You told me you didn't want kids yet. You said you wanted to wait until your career. That was because at the time, you weren't fit to be a father. He recoiled as if slapped, face ashen. Lila, you're cruel. No, I corrected softly. I'm finally honest. Pregnancy was brutal on me. Nausea, insomnia, dizziness, I fought them all while still working remotely. Nathan, meanwhile, cleared his schedule to be home by 6 every evening, bringing me soup, soothing my back through every bout of sickness. One night, after I'd spent an hour vomiting, he sat beside me with water and a warm cloth. I'm sorry, I murmured weakly. I'm holding you back. Nathan kissed my forehead. You're more important than any deal. Don't apologize. Moonlight spilled across his face, softening the cold edges. I studied him, this man who had once seemed untouchable in his wheelchair, now kneeling before me, wiping my tears. Why are you so good to me? I whispered. Because you're Lila Lynn, he said simply. The woman I chose to stand for. The woman I want beside me. My heart tightened painfully, beautifully. In the 4th month, my belly began showing. One Monday morning, Nathan dressed for work when his phone rang. His expression changed instantly. What? Are you sure? I'm coming. He ended the call, turned to me with a storm in his eyes. Stock prices just plummeted. Someone leaked a rumor that your baby isn't mine. My blood froze. Goo Group's top-floor conference room was packed. Board members, investors, senior directors, and at the far end, Brandon. His expression was too controlled, too calm. Rumors are spreading everywhere, a senior investor said. They claim Lila's child belongs to an ex-boyfriend. Baseless. Nathan growled. Is it? Brandon finally spoke, sliding a document across the table. Security records showing Lila entering a hotel 1 month before the alleged conception. Coincidentally, Uncle Nathan was abroad then. The room exploded with murmurs. I stared at the falsified evidence. Brandon's desperation had reached a new low. I can do a prenatal paternity test, I said evenly. Modern medicine allows it. And even if you do, Brandon sneered. A rumor, once planted, is enough. Uncle Nathan, will you risk the company's reputation on a woman who is almost your fiancé? Nathan's chair screeched as he stood up, but the meeting dissolved into chaos. Back in the office, Nathan was silent for a long time. Do you believe me? I finally asked. His head snapped up. I have never doubted you. Not for a second. I fear only what he'll try next. And Nathan was right. Because Brandon had only just begun. Rumors spread like wildfire. Within days, half the company believed I had slept my way into power. The other half believed the baby was a weapon I used to manipulate Nathan. Brandon fanned the flames skillfully, whispers in hallways, accidental leaks, hushed conversations that stopped whenever I walked into a room. But he didn't stop at whispers. He found allies. Several board members, long resentful of Nathan's ascent, seized the opportunity. Your wife is affecting the company's image, one of them said during an emergency meeting. We request that Ms. Lynn be removed from her position until she gives birth and the paternity is confirmed. The motion passed. I was officially suspended. When Nathan came home that night, his expression was something between fury and despair. He paced the living room like a caged beast. They think they can silence you, he growled, or push you out. I rested a hand on my belly. I won't be silenced. Not anymore. He stopped pacing. His eyes locked onto mine, dark, stormy, and full of trust. Then I'll stand with you, he said quietly. Every step. Brandon made his boldest move 2 weeks later. A strange man appeared on national financial media, eyes red, voice trembling. He claimed he and I had a past relationship, claimed I'd betrayed him, claimed the baby might be his. It was an obvious setup, but obvious didn't matter. Media loved scandal. Headlines exploded. Goo Group executive's wife accused of infidelity. Child's paternity in question. Shares plummet again. Nathan Goo silent. Crisis within the Goo family? I watched the report from my living room couch. A bowl of untouched soup on my lap. My stomach churned, not from pregnancy this time, but from rage. Nathan arrived home within 20 minutes. His tie crooked from ripping it off in the car. Lila, don't watch that, he said, grabbing the remote. But I took his wrist. No, I need to see how far he'll go. Nathan sank beside me, jaw tight. His hand covered mine, squeezing hard. We'll make him pay, he murmured. But for now, we needed evidence. We hired private investigators, lawyers, forensics experts. Every document Brandon leaked was traced. Every false witness was questioned. And I, despite my growing belly, despite exhaustion, worked nonstop. Until one evening, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and nearly collapsed. Blood. A terrifying streak of it. Nathan rushed in at the sound of my cry. Hospital. Now. His voice nearly cracked. At the hospital. Doctors scanned quickly. You're stable, they said. But the stress is affecting your pregnancy. You must rest. Nathan sat beside my bed, elbows on his knees, hands covering his face. I'd never seen him like that. Not even during the worst board meetings. Look at me, I whispered, touching his arm. He lifted his head. His eyes were red. This is my fault, he said. I should have protected you. I should have, Nathan. I said softly. We're fighting this together. This isn't just your war anymore. He looked at me for a long moment, then kissed my forehead, breathing a shaky sigh. I'm scared, he admitted in a whisper, of losing you, or the baby, or both. I squeezed his hand. I'm not going anywhere. 2 weeks later, I held a press conference. The PR team tried to stop me. The board threatened me. Brandon mocked me. I stood on the stage anyway. Cameras flashed. Microphones crowded the podium. Reporters murmuring as I stepped into the light, pregnant, calm, steady. My name is Lila Lynn, I began, voice clear, and today, I will answer the rumors directly. The room fell silent. 1. The father of my child is my husband, Nathan Gu. Only him. 2. I have initiated multiple lawsuits against those who fabricated evidence. And 3. I looked straight into the cameras. The strategic development partnership between Gu Group and KL International has been finalized. Our forecasted annual increase in profits is 1.5 billion. Gasps rippled across the hall. They hadn't expected that, especially because Brandon had tried, and failed, to secure that partnership for 3 years. I smiled coolly. While some people were busy spreading lies, I said, I was busy bringing value. The room erupted. Nathan watched from backstage. Pride, admiration, and something deeper burned in his eyes. He mouthed, You were magnificent. Of course. Brandon couldn't let it go. He cornered me in the parking garage after the conference. You think this is over? He hissed. You think a flashy deal will erase the suspicion? I stared calmly. What suspicion? The one you manufactured? You're pregnant. Lila, he snarled. Until that child is born and tested, no one will believe you. I tilted my head. You're pathetic, Brandon. His face contorted. You think you've won? I know I have. I walked away with dignity, but my belly tightened painfully. Nathan reached me seconds later. Lila, are you okay? I forced a breath. Just stress. But that night, everything went wrong. A violent cramp tore through me. Then another. Then warmth between my legs. I looked down. Blood. Much more than before. My voice broke. Nathan. He ran into the room. Face draining of color. Hospital. Now. Hold on. Lila. Hold on. I couldn't even answer. The pain was blinding. In the ambulance. My vision blurred. Sirens wailed. Nathan held my hand like a drowning man grabbing a rope. Stay with me. He pleaded. You're not allowed to leave. Do you hear me? Lila, look at me, but darkness was pulling me under. The ER doors slammed open. She has preeclampsia, a doctor shouted. BP rising sharply, prepare for emergency C-section. Nathan tried to follow, but a nurse held him back. Sir, you can't go inside. She's my wife. He roared. She's, damn it. Let me in. But the doors closed, and he collapsed into a chair, shaking uncontrollably. Hours passed. Finally, I heard a voice. Lila. Lila, can you hear me? My vision cleared slowly. Nathan's face hovered above mine, eyes bloodshot, hair disheveled, trembling. You're okay, he whispered hoarsely. You made it. Then I heard a tiny cry. A nurse brought a small bundle. A healthy baby boy, she said. Nathan's eyes filled instantly, as if someone had thrown open a window into his soul. He placed our son gently into my arms. And in that moment, everything softened. Everything made sense. 3 days later, the prenatal paternity test results arrived. As expected, Nathan was confirmed as the biological father. But what no one expected was the avalanche that followed. Because our investigators had finished their work too. Documents, wire transfers, signed instructions, fake witnesses, forged hotel records, market manipulation, all pointing to one man, Brandon Gu. The board removed him within hours. Nathan delivered the final blow himself. "You will leave the country," he said coldly, "and you will not return unless summoned. Otherwise, I'll ensure you never set foot in the corporate world again." Brandon's eyes filled with disbelief. "You'd exile your own nephew for her?" Nathan's expression didn't change. "For her, and for our son, I'd do far more." The day I left the hospital, Nathan met me at the entrance holding a tiny blue blanket for our baby. Sunlight poured over us. He kissed our son, then kissed me. "Welcome home," he whispered. "Both of you." I looked at my husband, walking steadily now. No wheelchair in sight, our newborn in his arms. Peace finally settling around us like warm air. I realized then, our story had weathered betrayal, cruelty, loss, lies, danger, and we survived, together. But our story wasn't ending, it was just beginning. Recovery at home was peaceful, almost unreal. The villa was quiet except for the soft breaths of our newborn son. Nathan carried him everywhere, the living room, the garden, even the study. He held him with a tenderness that contrasted sharply with the cold, decisive man the world knew. Our son had Nathan's eyes, dark, calm, intelligent, and a stubborn little frown that appeared whenever he was hungry. Every time Nathan looked at him, something in him melted. "You know," I teased one morning, watching Nathan adjust the baby's blanket with exaggerated care, "you're going to spoil him. He deserves to be spoiled," Nathan said gently. He fought hard to be here. His words hit me with unexpected emotion. I remembered the blood, the pain, the fear, the terrifying night he almost lost both of us. Nathan still woke up some nights breathing hard, checking the crib to make sure our baby was safe. Healing wasn't only physical, but we were healing, together. A week after Brandon's exile, Mr. Gu Sr. visited again. He held our baby with trembling hands, tears unexpectedly filling his stern old eyes. "My great-grandson," he murmured, voice cracking, "healthy, strong, perfect." He looked at me with genuine gratitude. "Lila, thank you. You saved our family twice. First the company, then this child." Nathan placed a hand on my shoulder, quietly proud. It wasn't the kind of praise I'd grown up craving, but it felt like acknowledgement, real acknowledgement. "And Nathan," the old man added, clearing his throat, "you did the right thing with Brandon. A leader must protect what matters." Nathan simply nodded, his expression unreadable. Later, when Mr. Gu Sr. left, Nathan held me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. "You've changed everything," he whispered. "My family, my life, me." I touched his hands. "And you changed mine." One afternoon, as sunlight filtered through the nursery window, Nathan entered carrying a slim envelope. "What's that?" I asked, rocking our baby gently. "Something that belongs to you," he said, handing it over. Inside was a share transfer agreement, 10% of Gu Group's stock, signed, sealed, notarized. My breath caught. "Nathan, this is too much." "It's not enough," he replied softly. "It's recognition, protection, and trust. You stood with me when no one else did. You carried our child through hell to bring him into this world. You rebuilt the company's future." He cupped my cheek. "As far as I'm concerned, Lila, you're the future of the Gu family." Emotion swelled in my chest, warm, overwhelming, real. "Then we'll build it together," I whispered. Nathan kissed me, slowly, deeply, with a promise behind it. Our baby stirred between us, and we both laughed quietly. Weeks passed. Nathan gained more mobility every day, walking longer distances around the villa, then the garden, then eventually outside without any support. He was still cautious, still building strength, but the determination in his eyes made it clear he was never going back to that wheelchair. One evening, as we stood on the balcony overlooking the city lights, our son asleep in the nursery, I leaned into him, feeling the warmth of his body against mine. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked softly. "The way everything happened? The wedding, the chaos, the aftermath, us?" Nathan turned to me, lifting my chin with a gentle touch. "I regret one thing," he said quietly. My stomach tightened. "What?" "That I didn't meet you sooner," he answered. My breath broke into a laugh, a soft, emotional sound I couldn't hold back. He pulled me into his arms, resting his forehead against mine. Everything we endured led us here, he murmured. To this life, to our son, to you, and to you. I whispered. Lila, Nathan said, brushing his thumb across my cheek. You were never a mistake. You were the one thing fate got right. In the silence that followed, the city lights sparkled like constellations, and I realized, for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid, not of betrayal, not of loss, not of the future, because I wasn't facing it alone. Nathan held my hand. Our son slept peacefully inside. The storm was over, and what remained was something real, something strong, something built from ashes and remade into gold. Our story wasn't about revenge or survival anymore. It was about beginning,